I'm Jamie Azios, and this video is a summary of a study we published to understand how researchers measure conversation after aphasia therapy. Having a conversation is an important part of our lives. It's how we share information, let others know who we are, and maintain our relationships. Conversation can be hard for people with aphasia, but people with aphasia and their partners have told us that getting better at conversation is an important goal of aphasia therapy. An outcome measure is a measure that's taken at the end of a treatment to see if a treatment worked. Conversation can be an outcome of aphasia therapy, but conversation is hard to measure. Aphasia researchers have struggled to figure out the best way to measure conversation at the end of a treatment. We did this study to review all the ways that conversation has been used as an outcome of aphasia treatment. We wanted to know how outcomes were described and reported in aphasia studies, and how credible or dependable the measures were that had been used. We wanted to have this information so that we can understand what measures to select as an outcome for future studies and which measures needed more testing. We found 64 studies published from 1995 to 2019 that used conversation as an outcome of aphasia therapy. Most of these studies were published recently, from 2010 to 2019. There was a total of 211 conversation measures across the 64 studies. There was a lot of variety in the way that conversation was collected and analyzed. There were differences in who the conversation partner was, or how the partner was instructed to talk to the person with aphasia. There were also differences in how the sample was recorded and how it was analyzed. Many studies didn't report basic information about the conversation, like where the conversation took place, how long the conversation lasted, who did the measuring, or how the conversation outcome was defined. Less than half of the studies collected multiple conversation samples to understand if the treatment really did work. And because there are so many differences in how conversation is measured, it's hard for speech therapists or researchers to decide what treatment works best for what people with aphasia. There were some conversation measures that showed promise. We think it's important to get researchers and clinicians across the world to define the measures that seem to be the best, to standardize set procedures for collecting and analyzing conversation, and decide which measures matter most to people with aphasia and their partners. Here's the title of the article that we published. The article was published in November of 2022 in the American Journal of Speech-Language Pathology. And here is a list of the authors that contributed to the study. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, Jamie Azios, at jamie.azios@louisiana.edu.